Hello folks, Sean Verrick here. Before we get going on this list, I want to just say that obviously the general format of TrekCulture and WhatCulture lists as a whole is that they seem to be rankings, that it's the top 10 or the 10 best. And this, of course, is not that in any way. This is not a countdown list and it's not a ranking list at all. This is a list wherein we remember the incredible artists whose work went into making Star Trek what it was. As in previous years, the entries on this list will mostly focus on those who appeared in front of the camera, but we do not want that in any way to suggest that those who worked behind the camera contributed in any way less than those who acted in front of it. We want to make sure that everyone receives their dues, and with that, we would first like to highlight these folks who passed away in 2023 that unfortunately at time of edit last year were not included in the 2023 list. Michael McCallion, Randall Bosley, Douglas Rowe, Paul Schiffer, Tom Ormany, Bobby Benton Hull, Martine Wood-Brandner, Dan Kern, Emily Banks, Tom Clunas, Peter C. Antonou, Glenn Ota, Jack Axelrod, and Jeffrey S. Jensen. In 2024, we lost yet more incredible artists who contributed to making Star Trek the franchise that it is. In 2024, we lost Tracy Torme, Ron Sarchian, August Amarillo, Paul Neary, James M. Ward, Phil Lodwick, M.D. Bright, Kevin Michael Brophy, Dan Wallen, Terence Beezer, Maggie Spack, T. Alan Chaffin, David Lockery, Laura Johnson, Anthony Acker, Greg Hildebrandt, John Hugh McKnight, Richard James, Scott L. Schwartz, and David A. McEntee. As this list has been written and produced before the end of 2024, we would like to apologize if anyone is not included on this list, and we will ensure that they are included in the 2025 list as well. Thank you very much, and please join me now in paying respects to the following people. Mickey Cottrell, who died on the 1st of January 2024. Mickey Cottrell, whose full name was Richard Edward Cottrell, first appeared in the Next Generation episode The Perfect Mate. He played Chancellor Alric of the Voltees, who would by the episode's end enter into a political marriage with Famke Janssen's Kamala. He returned to Star Trek in the Voyager episode The Raven, where he played Dumas, one of the Bomar. He had a prolific career as an actor, though he had a long career as a producer as well, not to mention his work as a publicist. His credits include such projects as My Own Private Idaho, Short Bus, and Ed Wood. His early career would see him working in the Guthrie Theatre in Minnesota, as well as the Loyola Theatre. In 2002, he formed his own publicist company, the Mickey Cottrell Publicist Agency, followed by, in 2004, Inclusive PR. In 2016, he suffered a stroke that forced him to undergo surgery and physical therapy. He passed away due to complications from Parkinson's disease. He was 79 years old when he died. David Soul, who died on the 4th of January 2024. David Soul appeared in The Apple, an infamous episode of the original series, where he played Makora, a very curious member of the Children of Vol. He would of course be best known for his performance as Hutch in the long-running series Starsky and Hutch. He played the role for 4 years, and that's not to mention his cameo in the Ben Stiller remake film. Soul had a long career in front of the camera, and that's including as well his years as a musician. He recorded the track Don't Give Up On Us, which reached the top of the Billboard Top 100 in 1977. Soul worked steadily in film and television, not to mention his starring turn in the miniseries of Stephen King's Salem's Lot, which terrified me as a child. He also enjoyed more musical success. He relocated to the UK in the 1990s, and from that point on had a long career on the West End, as well as more television appearances. Soul struggled with alcoholism for much of his life, but he entered rehab to get himself sober. He had also been a heavy smoker for many years, though he stopped several years before his death. Despite quitting, he suffered from COPD and had a cancerous lung removed. He was 80 years old when he died. Peter Cromby, who died on the 10th of January 2024. Peter Cromby appeared in the second season episode of Deep Space Nine, Melora, where he played Fallet Cott, an old business partner of Quark, who naturally tries to kill him. Around the same time, he made a 5-episode appearance on Seinfeld as Crazy Joe Davola. Cromby had already appeared with Avery Brooks in an episode of Spencer for Hire, but his filmography was impressive. He appeared in Born on the 4th of July, as well as Natural Born Killers and Seven. Cromby stepped away from acting in the early 2000s, although in 2006 he helped produce a short film named Threshold. Though divorced at the time of his death, his ex-wife announced his passing at 71 years of age. William O'Connell, who died on the 15th of January 2024. William O'Connell portrayed the Orion who was disguised as an Andorian in the second season episode of the original series, Journey to Babel. Though this would be a role that would probably become one of his most recognizable, he appeared in several Clint Eastwood Western films as well. O'Connell served in the Korean War as a first lieutenant. He was in the 45th Infantry, and he received the Bronze Star for his service. He was remembered for his thoughtful gestures. One Parisian clothier remembered on Christmas Day arriving to find a large bunch of flowers and a thank you note from O'Connell and his wife. He delivered many comedic roles throughout his career, including many other guest appearances with fellow Star Trek alumni. He was 94 years old when he died. Gary Graham, who died on the 22nd of January 2024. Gary Graham appeared in two roles throughout Star Trek. He first appeared as the role of the Ocampa Tanis in the Star Trek Voyager episode Cold Fire, having previously been considered for both Sisko and Janeway before those roles were restructured. Of course, he then returned in Star Trek Enterprise as the Vulcan ambassador Soval. Graham was previously best known for his role in Alien Nation, where to many he will always be known as Detective Mike Sykes. He was both a writer and director, though continued to act for the rest of his life. He also appeared in many fan productions of Star Trek, such as Renegades, Star Trek of Gods and Men, and of course Prelude to Axanar, where he reprised the role of Soval. He was 73 years old when he died. Kenneth Mitchell, who died on the 24th of February 2024. Kenneth Mitchell burst onto Star Trek screens as Kol, one of the Klingons to appear in Star Trek Discovery's first season. He would then appear in 6 more roles, which is no small feat when his career in Star Trek was as relatively short as it was. He played Kol Shah, father of Kol, he played Tenavik, he played Twirk, and 2 other background characters in Star Trek Lower Decks before finally appearing as Aurelio, a role that was specifically written for Mitchell. Mitchell publicly battled ALS and received fierce support from his Star Trek co-stars, in particular Mary Chieffo. Aurelio was written to be a hover chair user, which allowed Mitchell to appear out of prosthetics for the first time on screen. Mitchell appeared in Jericho as well as Captain Marvel. Though he lost his voice to ALS in 2021, Mitchell continued to share incredibly hopeful messages online, and even went so far as to suggest that there were plans to bring him back for Star Trek Discovery's 4th season, playing a character who had lost their voice. Though unfortunately that never came to pass, there are few who can see the video of Mitchell being held aloft by a dancing crowd on the Star Trek cruise who can ever doubt the man's strength and resilience. He was 49 years old when he died. Charles Dierkop, who died on the 25th of February 2024. The self-proclaimed adopted son of Durango, California, Charles Dierkop appeared in the 2nd season episode of the original series, Wolf in the Fold, as Morla, the bereaved fiancé of the murdered belly dancer Kara. As infamous as this episode ended up becoming, it was only a very small part of Dierkop's CV. He was a lifelong member of the Actors Studio, and though he semi-retired in recent years, he did continue to appear in short films as well as serving on a juror for many film festivals. He dropped out of high school to enlist in the US Marine Corps, after which he served in the Korean War before being discharged at age 19. Then he used the GI Bill. It was a law that was introduced to help returning soldiers find work and other benefits, to aid in his enrollment at the American Foundation of Dramatic Arts in Philadelphia. He had many uncredited roles before his turn in Star Trek, though he would go on to appear in 2 incredibly well-known films, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and The Sting. He's probably best known for playing Detective Pete Royster on Policewoman. That ran from 1974 to 1978. Dierkop recalled that when he was offered the role of Morla, he had no idea what Star Trek was going to go on to become. Many years later, he was still being recognized at conventions and fan meetups. He's a great example of, no matter the amount of screen time in Star Trek, once you're in, you're always family. He was 87 years old when he died. Michael Barrier, who died on the 26th of February 2024. Michael Barrier appeared as a redshirt who, wait for it, survives. He appeared in 3 episodes of the original series, The Squire of Gothos, This Side of Paradise, and Cat's Paw. Though he made several television appearances in the 60s, acting was not his main passion. Before and after his acting career, he served in the US military and the US Coast Guard. When his acting career came to a close, he enrolled in law school, was admitted to the bar, and, at the rank of lieutenant commander, served as first the assistant legal officer and then the legal officer for the 11th Coast Guard District. Though he admitted to not being much of a Trekkie as time went on, his character is very important, not only for being a red shirt with quite a few lines, but also helping to introduce a certain Russian navigator to the franchise. Barrier was 90 years old when he died. Barbara Baldavin, who died on the 31st of March 2024. Barbara Baldavin appeared in 4 episodes of the original series: Balance of Terror, Shore Leave, Space Seed, although her scenes were cut, and Turnabout Intruder. Technically, because of that cut scene, she was a different character in every episode she appeared, although no one told William Shatner. For Shore Leave, she was cast as Teller, although as filming began, people began to realise that, hold on, wasn't she Angela Martine from Balance of Terror, which was a not insignificant role? She was the officer who was due to be married in Balance of Terror until the Romulan attack put paid to that. Noticing this, the character was swiftly switched to Martine, although no one told Shatner, who in the episode addresses her as Teller, even though the end credits list her as Angela. She would then appear as Lieutenant Lisa in the show's finale, Turnabout Intruder. At this point in her career, she was married to Joseph D'Agosta, who was the casting director for Star Trek. After her acting career, she would switch to casting, where she would be responsible for such shows as Dynasty. She was 85 years old when she died. Alan Scarfe, who died on the 28th of April, 2024. Alan Scarfe appeared in 3 episodes of Star Trek, 2 of which were in The Next Generation. First, he played Mendak in Data's Day, before playing Tokath in Birthright Part 2. He would then return in Star Trek Voyager as Ogress, who appeared in the episode Resistance. Scarfe's distinctive, slow style of speech originated from his days in the theatre. He trained at the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art, which led not only to a long acting career, but also directing other actors as well. Scarfe turned his talents to writing, not content with simply being an actor and director. He published 4 satirical novels, all of which had a staggered journey to widespread availability. He originally published them under the pseudonym Clanash Farjan, which is an anagram of his name. All 4 are now available under his given name. He was married to actor Barbara March, who of course we would know as Lursa until her death in 2019. He was 77 years old when he died. Eric Anderson, who died on the 1st of June 2024. Eric Anderson appeared in the 5th season episode of The Next Generation, Conundrum, as the duplicitous Commander Kieran MacDuff, who shocked audiences by doing poor Riker out of a job. Until it was exposed, that is. Anderson had a long career as an actor, though he initially focused on science. He achieved a degree in biochemistry and molecular biology before switching to the arts. He appeared in such shows as Felicity and The Outer Limits, although to horror fans he may be best remembered as the ill-fated Rob Deere in Friday the 13th, the final chapter. He was also a novelist who penned 3 books: Hallowed Be Thy Name, Thy Kingdom Come, and Rabbit, a Golf Fable. After having battled cancer for some time, he died at 67 years of age. Bill Cobbs, who died on the 25th of June 2024. The Emmy-winning Bill Cobbs appeared in the 4th season episode of Star Trek Enterprise, Daedalus, as Dr. Emery Erickson, the human inventor of the transporter. Cobbs' career was as varied as it was long, appearing in multiple mediums and across multiple genres. He started his professional life in the army before, at age 36, making the jump into acting. That said, he had already started practicing stand-up comedy while still in the service. So, when he joined the Negro Ensemble Company in New York in 1970, he was well positioned for a change to scripted drama. He worked with Ossie Davis, Ruby Dee, Moses Gunn, and many other greats throughout his career. His film debut came in 1973's The Taking of Pelham 123, wherein he had a single line. He recalled his entire family and friend group coming together to sit down and watch him deliver that fateful, "Hey man, what's going on?" He continued to act up until 2023, when he had a role in Incandescent Love. He won his Emmy in 2020 for his role in Dino Dana, Dino Flyer. He was 90 years old when he died. James B. Sikking, who died on the 13th of July 2024. James B. Sikking appeared as Captain Styles, the smug commander of the NX-2000 USS Excelsior. There are few who've seen Star Trek III: The Search for Spock who won't remember his perfect, sanctimonious little delivery of, "Kirk, you do this, you'll never sit in the captain's chair again." Sikking was a character actor who had two hugely popular roles in two Stephen Bocco productions. First, he was Lieutenant Howard Hunter in Hill Street Blues, before he went on to appear as David Hauser, father of, in Doogie Howser, MD. Sikking was a workhorse who appeared in dozens of productions throughout his career. He attended university with Harve Bennett, which led to his role in Star Trek III, and he would go on to work with Leonard Nimoy many times again after that. He was also an activist, raising funds to battle cystic fibrosis. He also raised funds for the Susan G. Foreman Foundation, which seeks to aid breast cancer patients. And he also read to children via the SAG Book Pals program. He was 90 years old when he died. Whitney Rybeck, who died on the 15th of July, 2024. Whitney Rybeck was in the second season episode of The Next Generation, Pen Pals, wherein he played one of Wesley Crusher's research team. He had a long career in front of the camera, including a memorable appearance in one of the Friday the 13th sequels, Jason Lives, Part 6. This role specifically came about due to Rybeck's command of comedy and his friendship with the film's director, Tommy McLoughlin. They had begun their collaborations in the early 70s at the Richmond Shepherd Mime Group. They then reunited in McLaughlin's own LA Mime Group. Rybeck would also appear in a series of road safety ads. He and fellow actor Tony Raitano appeared as crash test dummies, who highlighted the importance of wearing one's seatbelt in these ads. Rybeck often reiterated just how important it was to buckle up, joking that he never wanted a headline to read, "Actor who played crash dummy died for not buckling up." He appeared in many other productions and spent years teaching drama at Pasadena City College. He was 79 years old when he died. Patty Yasutake, who died on the 5th of August, 2024. Patty Yasutake appeared in many episodes of The Next Generation, including the films Star Trek Generations and Star Trek First Contact, each time playing Nurse Alyssa Ogawa. Yasutake got her start in theatre, appearing with the East-West Players in LA before she moved on to directing. Her career would take her into film as well as many other television shows. She remembered her casting in the Next Generation episode Future Imperfect, where she recalled it being very unlikely she'd be asked to come back because everyone had been aged up. She thought, well, I'd be a baby in the normal flow of things. However, Jonathan Frakes assured her she'd be back, which she was, merely a few episodes later. She appeared in an ad for one of the Hallmark Star Trek ornaments before she eventually received her own action figure via Diamond Select. In recent years, she was playing Joseph Lee's mother on Beef. In 2017, when speaking about her experiences in Star Trek, she was glad that her appearances would keep her young forever, something she truly cherished. She was 70 years old when she died. Obi Nadefo, who died on the 28th of August, 2024. Obi Nadefo played two characters in Star Trek. First, he was Drex, son of Martok, named for Doug Drexler in the DS9 episode The Way of the Warrior. He would then return as Kellermain in the Voyager episode Blink of an Eye. Nadefo served as a source of inspiration after his accident in 2019. As he was loading groceries into the back of his car, a drunk driver slammed into him. One of his legs was amputated on impact and the other had to be amputated after the fact. However, Nadefo frequently spoke about the positivity he brought to life after this, and then would go on to teach yoga and serve as an inspiration for many. Some might best know him for his turn on Dawson's Creek or even on Stargate SG-1, or for his solitary appearance in Angel. Nadefo suffered from a condition known as orthorexia nervosa, which is categorized by an obsession with the quality of food one puts into their body. This can sadly lead to malnutrition and, in some cases, even death. Nadefo's sister, Nakem, shared this on social media in the hopes that out of his death they could find something positive by sharing awareness of the condition, which is rare, and the term itself was only coined in 1997. Nadefo was 51 years old when he died. James Darren, the 2nd of September, 2024. James Darren appeared in 8 episodes of Star Trek Deep Space Nine as the holographic crooner Vic Fontaine. Though this was his only time in Star Trek, he had appeared for quite some time alongside William Shatner in T.J. Hooker as Officer Jim Corrigan. Darren, born James William Ercolani, chose his stage name in honor of the Kaiser Darren sports car. He spent many years touring as a singer, performing twice at the Academy Awards, and even appearing as a caricature of himself on the Flintstones. He got his start in Hollywood, thanks to his manager Joyce Selznick, with a contract at Columbia Pictures. Though he was primarily focused on acting at this point, he impressed the studio with his singing on the film Gidget. This same film solidified him as a teen heartthrob. From this point on, he split his time between acting, performing at nightclubs and casinos, and eventually moving to directing. He recorded an album based on the songs he sang as Vic Fontaine called This One's From the Heart. At the height of his fame, he recalled a time when he was swamped by a horde of screaming female fans who effectively swamped him on the sidewalk and began pulling at him, even pulling out tufts of his hair. While he certainly didn't enjoy the pain of it, he said he couldn't lie, he did enjoy the adulation a little bit. He was 88 years old when he died. Jeri Taylor, who died on the 24th of October 2024. Jeri Taylor joined the writing staff of The Next Generation as it entered its 4th season, doing her first work as a rewrite on the episode Suddenly Human. She quickly established herself and her talent, becoming co-executive producer by the show's 6th season and eventually executive producer and showrunner for The Next Generation's 7th and final season. Though her writing credits are legion, Jeri Taylor is probably best known as the co-creator of Star Trek Voyager. Taylor was born in Bloomington, Indiana, a trait that she would establish as Captain Catherine Janeway's birthplace as well. She served as the executive producer for the show's first 4 seasons, before stepping back to a creative consultative role for the show's last 3 seasons. Taylor's era of Star Trek saw a rise in the number of roles for women, including seeing Beverly Crusher command the Enterprise in Descent and Troy achieve the rank of Commander in Thine Own Self. She penned 3 Star Trek novels, 2 of which helped to flesh out the backstories of the characters she had created over on Star Trek Voyager. Head writer of Star Trek prodigy Aaron Waltke credited Taylor's notes that she had donated to Indiana University as one of the major influences on his own writing. She was 86 years old when she died. Terry Garr, who died on the 29th of October 2024. Terry Garr appeared in the 2nd season finale of the original series, Assignment Earth, which had been created by Gene Roddenberry as a backdoor pilot to a series which, if greenlit, would have seen Robert Lansing's Gary Seven and Garr's Roberta Lincoln experiencing all sorts of adventures. Though the series failed to be greenlit, she did confess that the script offered her quite a lot to do. She was quoted in Starlog number 173 that she preferred not to discuss Star Trek where possible. William Ware Theiss, who was the costume designer for the original series at the time of production of this episode, recalled Gene Roddenberry being very involved to the point where he kept demanding Gar's skirt be shortened and shortened to show off more and more. Now, if this is true, can anyone blame her for not having the fondest memories of this episode? Star Trek, thankfully, did nothing to harm her career, as she went on to appear in Young Frankenstein, The Conversation, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and Tootsie, for which she received an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress. Her peers recall her as a comedic legend who was well able and quick-witted enough to bouncer off any co-star or interviewer. As early as 1982, she began to experience the onset of multiple sclerosis, a condition that she kept private for almost 2 decades after this. She publicly announced she was suffering from the condition in 2002, opting to use her position and influence to help others. She was an activist who campaigned against nuclear testing and also campaigned on behalf of the Trevor Project. She was 79 years old when she died. Tony Todd, who died on the 6th of November 2024. Tony Todd appeared as 3 different characters on screen in Star Trek, as well as performing in Star Trek video games. He appeared as Kern in The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. He played adult Jake Sisko in the episode The Visitor, and appeared as an Alpha Hirogen in the Voyager episode Prey. He reprised the role of Kern in the video game Klingon Honor Guard, and played Kern, then going by General Rodek, in Star Trek Online. His final voice acting role for Star Trek was as Korban in Star Trek Elite Force 2. Todd was a prolific theatre actor, though to many he will be best known for his roles in horror. He appeared as Ben in Tom Savini's 1990 remake of Night of the Living Dead. He then originated the role of Daniel Robitaille in the Candyman series, a role he reprised in the recent Nia DaCosta Candyman 2021 film. He had a small part in 1997's Wishmaster, but his role of William Bloodworth became iconic in the Final Destination series, which will also be one of his final on-screen roles, as Final Destination Bloodlines is set to be released posthumously. Todd was well known as a kind, outgoing person who always interacted with his fans, either at conventions or via his X account. A gentle giant, he was 69 years old when he died. Jill Jacobson, who died on the 8th of December 2024. Jill Jacobson appeared in 2 episodes of Star Trek. First, she appeared in the 2nd season episode of The Next Generation, The Royale, as Vanessa. She would then return in Star Trek Deep Space Nine in the 4th season finale, Broken Link, as Chalan Oroya. Having graduated from the University of Texas in Austin with a BS in radio, TV, and film performance, Jacobson quickly became known to her friends as a great comic whose comedic timing was impeccable. She displayed this timing in her role in The New Gidget. She would go on to appear in dozens of further performances, including a long-running role on Falcon Crest. She also performed on stage, making many theatre performances. She was a skilled stand-up comedian, effortlessly bringing her craft from camera to crowd work. She suffered from esophageal cancer for 2 years before her death, during which time she became an award-winning spokesperson for the American Cancer Society. She was 70 years old when she died. Thank you so much, folks, for watching along, and we hope that you will take some time as well to do a little bit more reading on any of the names that were on this list. Every single person who we have named has a story to tell. Every single person who helps craft Star Trek into becoming what it is has a story to tell. This is not something that we take lightly here at TrekCulture, and something that we feel very honored to help bring to you. Thank you very much, folks. Have a peaceful holiday season and new year, and I will see you in 2025. Live long and prosper. Thank you very much.